Thanks. Good. So we're going to begin the class at least referring to the opening of the parsha, which is Devarim chapter Koftes. That's 29. The first posik of the parsha is posik tes in chapter 29. And it begins with the words, Atem Nitzavim hayoim kulchem lifnei Hashem Elokeichem. You are, all of you, assembled, but the word Nitzavim doesn't mean assembled, but that's what actually was occurring. But the word Nitzavim means to stand firm, to appear for a certain task in an active and meaningful way that you've been invited to do. Well, that's called lehitiatzev in Hebrew. But that's like the how do you call it, the reflexive of the word nitzov. What nitzov means to stand firm, how do you call it, present yourself firmly. There's a word in a posik in one of the Nevi'im about a king, Nitzov Melech. There was no king at that time in Edom, Nitzov Melech. There wasn't anybody to stand a firm leadership like a king. And the word Nitzov means standing firmly and powerfully and meaningfully. So you guys are standing definitely and powerfully, Hayom. And it's one on the great Meforshim, especially in Chassidus, tell us that the word Hayom, stone, is referring to Rosh Hashanah. The word stam, Hayom. It's a Zohar, Kodesh Botan and the Zohar, in reference to Eov, what right at the beginning of Eov. It's written by Yayoim, Rabbi Hamalachim Lityatzeiv al Avaya. So it's written over there, Hayom, and that's referring to the Zohar, that's Rosh Hashanah. So the Yidden are standing firm, all of them together in the front of the Eibishter, with all the word all is both used in a general way and then it's put into detail. It tells all of them, and then it says that there were the leaders and there were the members of the tribes and the elders and the shreitrim, the people who look after the Seder. And then it sums up again, Kol Ish Yisrael. And then it says, Tapeichem v'nasheichem, even your small children and your wives, and v'gercho v'asher b'yisharecho, even people who are not necessarily born into the Jewish people, but they're part of it. They're also included in this standing firm in front of Hashem. And then he said, "What's the purpose of all this? Why am I standing you all so firmly and so definitely?" My purpose is li'ovrecho b'vris Hashem Elokecha, that I want to literally pass you through or pass you over a covenant of the Shem, and this is a covenant of Hashem, your God, Avaya Elokecha, uva olosoi, and in the opposite, if you don't keep the covenant, then there's likely to be negative results, which is like curse. Ola means like a threat or a curse. Yeah. Asher Hashem Elokecha koresh imcho hayoim. But the Eibishter is making this bris hayom. Once again, the word hayom being stripped.
Rosh Hashanah.
And then he goes on in Pasuk Yud Gimel, and he says, "V'lo yitchem levadchem." He said, not just with you people on your own, levadchem, you people alone. Anoichi koireis esa bris azois v'esa olazei. He says, not only just with you, 13, Pasuk 13. Not only just with you that I'm making this government and the opposite of it. Ki eis asher yeshnoi poi imano oimeid hayom. With whoever is standing here today, lifnei Hashem Elokecha, if he's standing there today, then that probably means in the normal way he's standing here with us, which means he's here in a body. He's a person, an neshama b'guf, what you might call, what we would normally picture as a stander here. So he said, everybody that is standing here, I'm making with him the bris. And he said, not only those, but he said, V'eish asher einenu po imanu hayom, and also with those who are not here in front of us today, or they're not here with us, put it that way, they're not here with us. So Rashi says, who are these people that are not here with us today? So Rashi says, Afim adoirois asidim liois, that we're fixing this bris even with the generations that are going to be in the future. So, Rashi puts that in because he wants to make correct, what are we doing? Mentioning those who are not here, what. So he says, oh yes, we're also making the bris with those who are not here. So who are not here, the generations still to come. And it's brought down in certain Sfarim that this means all sorts of people. It also means all those who are going to be mitgayer, all the gerim and others. Their neshamas, or I don't know how to describe it, are all also being taken into the bris. So it's pretty clear that it doesn't mean that all these people were there, because all the doiros asidim love, that's a huge and a heck amount of people. So what does that mean? So most of the great commentators and madrastic sources that they talk about this assume that this is referring to neshamas, that all these people are there in their neshamas. They're not necessarily there in the body, and that's the two statements. The first statement is referring to all those oimed imanu lifnei. So if you're oimed, you're probably there, like normally being present. Yeah. But he said those who are not with us today, what does that mean? So we have to assume that because of the unbelievable number, that this means that they were there in their neshamas, that their neshamas were at Matan Torah. And like we have many great references, not just to Matan Torah, but to this brit, the making of this brit.
This wasn't.
So
where was this?
The intelligent reader, l'choira,
Was it hard?
just at first glance, is attracted by two questions, two shilas occur. Number one, we've already had many brisim have been mentioned so far. You know, there was a bris with Avraham Avinu, and then there was other brisim with Yitzchok, with Yaakov, and then there was a bris in Mount Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu made a bris with everybody on the kiyum of the Torah, l'chera. And then we've had in Devarim, also we had all the Arua, you know, the 11 cursed is he in last week's parsha, and it's written that the Rabbiim said that in a double form. They said, first of all, Baruch, the person who does the right thing, and cursed is he who won't do the right thing. And so everybody said, Amen, you know. So at the end, he sums it up with a general statement. He says, and cursed be he that won't keep this whole Torah. So Rashi says that's like summing up the whole Torah, and that's like a bris, it's like a form of a making of an agreement with them. And Rashi says they all took on themselves with a oath and with a curse, like an oath to do it, and they took upon themselves the curse, if not. And then, at the end of the parasha last week, we have all the detailed inyan of the rebuking, you know, how do you call it, the curses, you know, the so-called teichel, well, it's not so-called, that's what it's referred to in our sages as the teichel, and that contains 98, you know, pretty sobering curses.
Yeah.
So, you know, if chas v'sholem, they won't stand in their keeping of the Torah. And then it's written at the end, Eila divrei habris, these are the makings of the bris that Moshe made with the Jewish people, apart from the bris that he made b'chorev. What's referring to Sinai. At Sinai he also made a bris, now he's made another one, you know. And the one at Sinai was the Teichah in Pashu Vayikro, what that was at Sinai. Yeah. Oh, Mela, come to Israel, that, you know, make up your mind how many brethren have you got here, you follow? And then he says, the Posik tells us that the whole purpose of getting everybody together and standing them all firmly and very stark, you know what I mean? Yeah. Got them all standing ready for action, you know, in front of Hashem. It's all for the sake of li'ovracha, to pass you through a brit. So that's sort of the question, you know, what's in this brit? You know, we've had all the brisim up to now, and they've entered into, and they've made an oath, and they've taken on themselves the possibility of severe 98 different rebukals and all sorts of things. What further is there? So therefore, for lack of a better shot, I think what we could learn here is that he uses here the word li'ovracha. Yeah, that means literally to pass you through a brit, which we're going to make. And that's to say that maybe everything they did up till now was like they heard the threats and the negatives and the positives, and they made oaths and undertakings in reference to that, and then they took upon themselves what could follow if you don't keep your oath. But that wasn't necessarily the final step of a brit, of what you might call a real, except for the brits that Moshe Rabbeinu made at Chorev. That's a little bit, you know, needs a bit of explanation, but here we could say on all the further developments that have been made since then, Benegah, to warning, and there was a lot in last week's passage, general, you know, exhortation to the Jewish people, etc. So, what I would like to suggest is that here was what we'll put in inverted commas, a real bris. Now what is the Inyan? It's brought down that at the time that Avram Avinu made a bris with Hashem, or Hashem made a bris with Avram Avinu, on the giving of the land and everything. That's called the bris bein habesarim. The bris bein habesarim. And what does it mean, besarim? What does the word besarim mean? Cut halves of a behema or behemoths. That the way they used to make a bris in those days, including these brisim also, they used to take a behemo or two or three and slaughter them, and then cut the behemoths in half and have two halves like standing on two sides with like a path in the middle. And the people making the bris would state what are the bris and what are the details and what you might call the conditions of the bris, and they would go through walk through the behemoths, and that was like a reception on themselves, that they took upon themselves the bris. And then after that was considered a final and very committing, having taken on the bris. So it's brought down in Swana and Esmani, what's the whole idea of having two halves of behemoth walking down the middle? So it showed that whoever was entering into the covenant, he is making the covenant so binding on himself with whoever he's making the covenant with, that they become like two halves of the same body. Or they become two halves of the same entity, right. Which in this case is they're humans, but they join together and they become like one. And therefore their commitment after that is absolute, that if I will make any moves, not implying the keeping of the bris, I'm like moving, I'm dragging my other half, who is obviously against us. We're both, from now on, in the same pekel, to use the expression in Yiddish. Well, we're two goofs, but we became one goof. You follow? Mm-hmm. And that we should suggest that all the brisim here in Sefer Dvarim, if you drop asleep, then we're down to two people. You follow?
Yeah.
Because somebody who's asleep is like, he's not there. I mean,
I'm here. I will give you two halves.
So anyway, these two people, mitzat the koyach of the bris, we can suggest that maybe the bris is even more strong than a oath, a shavua, even though it brought down that a shavua is very powerful, a very deep commitment. But this is something even more. Mm-hmm. So maybe all the agreements and all the threats and all the receivings upon themselves, ba'olah u'b'shavua and everything that's been up till now, didn't actually include this, and therefore he uses the word li'ovracha, to pass you through the bris. Follow? Yeah. In other words, that this is like the final absolute commitment on the part of the Yidden to all the commitments that have been made before. This is like how you call it, this is the final and inverted commas ultimate step. Yeah. Beyond this, there's no more. This is the final ultimate commitment, and Kaviyoho, they become bound up to Hashem in a way that they are, wherever Hashem will move, they will move. You understand? Yeah. In other words, that's just putting it in a vernacular statement. but they become misachid, yeah, with Kavioho, the divinity of Hashem. They become united absolutely, yeah, through this breath. And therefore, the pasuk begins with Moshe Rabbeinu gathered them together, but he gathered them in a way that they were Nitzavim, they were standing very firm. Because this is a very final and, ultimate. There's nothing more beyond this. This is it. You follow?
Yeah.
So, and that's what he used, the expression, I'm doing this, li'ovrecha. I want to pass you through the real signs of the finality of all the Britain that I've told you what I want to make up till now, but now I'm really finalizing the whole deal. You follow? So, with that, I want to now get to a couple of explanations, and that will help me to tell a couple of stories. I thought you guys would complain that usually we tell a story or something, and so far we haven't done that. But anyway, whatever. So.
Oh yeah, where's the stories?
So Shimon says not all that. We haven't been going all that long. Anyway, and that is that it's brought down in certain great Sforim, and that the first word of the parasha is atem. You are standing very firm. Now, if you look at the letters of the word atem, it's also, if you read it back the other way, then it's the oisias of emet. Right?
Yeah.
Mem, tet, aleph.
You split the mem and the
Mem, tov, aleph.
Yeah.
Well, that's the oisias of emet. Now, and so, what would Lefize imply? The pasuk atem Nitzavim would imply that you've got to stand very firm and unyieldingly your emet. Yeah. And this is Davke at this moment. This is being hinted at in the pasuk. Because like we just pointed out, this is the ultimate and final breath.
Yeah.
This is like the perfection of what we might call the shleimut of the whole covenant. So, just another remark about the word emet, and then we'll get on to our stories, God willing, and we'll start moving a bit further.
Yeah.
And that is that if you notice, the word emet is made up of aleph, mem, tov. Now these are the three, as it were, most distant letters from one another in the Torah, in the whole base, I'm sorry.
Right.
Aleph is the first.
Yeah, middle and the last.
Tov is the last. Mem, in the middle, is right in the middle.
Right.
It's right in the middle of all the oisias. So we have distant, areas almost to the extreme in those three letters, aleph, mem, tov. And we still haven't got our samovar or our... maybe we need some really strong mask here,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So...
next time.
If we look at the opposite, I don't know if it's an opposite, but it's very, very extremely different to emes, and that's sheker. Then you'll notice that all the oisias of sheker are one after the other, or they're close to the other. Kuf, Rei, Shin, that's the way the other base runs. They're all one alongside the other. Sheker, all the oisias are closed. Of the emes, they're all
far away.
the Tachlis are real one from the other.
Yeah.
So it's brought down in great Sforim that implies that if you can somehow or another, and we're going to suggest some possible ideas about that, if you can reach emes, and you do, and you function according to emes, then you have the ability to bring all the distant parts of your life and things in life in general would appear to not really have much to do with anything. You can make them also part of the Kedusha. And you can bring them in and you can be makar of them to the union of Kedusha. But if Cholila you're holding by sheker, if you're holding by sheker, then you deal only with the near things. In other words, you can't affect anything. You can't really you're locked up in yourself. You don't have the ability to bring message and a spur to things outside you. You're all 1, 2, 3, and that's it. That's the whole story. Just the 3 letters, one after the other, and that's where you are. And you're locked up. You don't, how do you call it? Use the old expression, you don't have what to sell. You don't have what to generate. Yeah. Well, there's no buyers either. Because there's no seller, so there's no buyer. So what do? You fall into self-centeredness. Yeah. That's not good. You know, so self-centeredness is, first of all, klippas noiga, it's brought down. What's the whole point of klippas noiga? You do things for your own benefit. You're even in Kedusha for, your own good and your own status and maybe even koved, cheskuli and things like that. Yeah, if you're locked up in that, you can't really, what you might fall into is taivas and things. It's just all the things that are near and, they sort of make sense to you while you're thinking about yourself. So that's emes with sheker. You know? So there's I'm just going to tell you a brief story. That there's a story. What I thought it was brought down Yom Yom, but I took a quick look today, and as far as I remember, it's not brought there. But it's a story about the Alter Rebbe. And there was a person who had a yichidas with the Alter Rebbe. And he sort of described his situation to the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe hinted to him that he has a lot of good things about him and everything, but it needs to be emet. It needs to be genuine, it needs to be emes. So when he heard that, he fainted, you follow? When the Alter Rebbe said to him that you've got certain things, but we got to get you to the emes, you follow? He couldn't take that, so he realized what the Alter Rebbe was saying, so he fainted, follow? So they came in and they woke him up and everything. And then he wanted to continue with the Yechidas, you follow? So the Alter Rebbe said to him, oh, that what you find would have been good had it been with an emes. You follow? So when he heard that, he fainted again. When he heard that, he fainted again. And they brought him round, and they went. And he sort of came up, and the Alter Rebbe was still there, And the Alter Rebbe said to him, now we're getting a little bit close. We're sort of bordering. And so then, either I don't remember, either they continued, they discussed what to do, or that was basically the message. You know? Well, from that we see that, Emes is not a easy thing, you know, to get to.
Right.
But by fainting, you know, he sort of got closer. You know, the old Torah said that was good, but if that had been with the Emes, then it would have been really good. So we see that Emes. So let's then examine our message that we gave. And we said that if you hold by Emes, then you can attract